just bring everyone up to speed on what. So the last time and so if you're done with the knitting stuff, I think we're pretty much done with our knitting stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Our last podcast, I had just gotten word that I don't even know, but my dad was going to be having the surgery.
Yep. The next day on
Monday.
Oh,
right. Yeah. So he was going to be going in to have this surgery done. One lung was completely collapsed and the other lung was only operating at 30% because of this massive, massive tumor that was in there.
Yeah.
And then, so when they'd prepped him for this tumor the first time when they were going to go in and get it out, he flatlined and had an experience where he said he saw his whole life flash before his eyes. And my dad's, I mean, if you knew him, you'd know that this is just not the kind of stuff he would ever say. I mean, I absolutely believe that this happened because my dad is not open to suggestion. He's not a, whatever.
Easily swayed.
He's not swayed.
Yeah.
And he said that at the end of it, he said so much of it faded really fast, but what he was left with, and he said it wasn't old JC's booming voice or anything, but he was left with the message that he was wrong all those years and that everyone else was right, that love is the most important thing. And if you think about what is love, well, I mean, I know that that's God. And it was really powerful. And it just made me so happy to hear that because my dad could tell you pretty much any, he's very educated.
Yep.
And he knows the story of the Bible. Nobody needs to evangelize to him. But he just wasn't into organized religion.
Yeah, totally.
I get that.
Yeah.
But I would say that I feel good now.
Yeah.
Knowing.
Yeah. I think he did too, though. He felt at peace. Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
But I mean, like, if my dad had died and I didn't know that he'd had that experience, I'd be kind of worried.
Totally.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he had the surgery and he was in the hospital for several weeks. He didn't know how he was, because he lives up north from San Francisco, probably like 90 miles, but it takes almost 4 hours because of the roads.
Yeah.
They're just hairpin turn after hairpin turn. So anyway, he was in the hospital. Surgery ended up going great. Everything was good. So I ended up flying down and, I mean, have we talked about all this part?
No.
Oh, okay.
He was going to have surgery the next day.
Okay.
Yeah. It was
Okay.
our last podcast. Yeah.
So I flew down, rented a car, picked him up from the hospital, drove him up to his place in Manchester, and stayed with him for a week. And he was doing really good. I was so inspired by him because every day he'd be doing his little exercises that they gave him, and he'd be walking around. I'd look at him in his room and he's sitting there doing these, his arm, just really disciplined and just doing his stuff. And so in the meantime, we have this big, huge snowstorm coming to Portland. And the day that I was going to be coming home, Michael was like, well, if there's any way you could come home a day early, he wasn't sure he'd be able to get me from the airport.
Right.
Well, one of my fears I realized in life is being stranded away from home.
Yeah.
That's like something that really gets my anxiety going. And so I'm down there thinking I can't be cut off from my home.
Right.
And that just really freaked me out. And then I realized, well, that's exactly how my dad had been feeling in the hospital.
Just wanted to be home.
He just wanted to get home. So anyway, he was doing great. He was absolutely doing great. And so I came home.
Well, and you had his neighbor checking on him. You had, there was going to be a nurse.
A traveling nurse. And he was up and around doing stuff. I could hear that he was getting winded easily. He'd get out
That's
of breath.
probably normal. I mean, for recouping after a major.
And they found another tumor in there that was also benign. These were benign tumors. They were just different things. But anyway, so I came home and everything was fine until it wasn't. And then he went to the doctor for his follow-up, and he said if he hadn't had that appointment, he would have gone in because, he was just having a hard time breathing. And anyway, it turns out he developed pneumonia, which isn't uncommon.
No, especially with that kind of a surgery.
That kind of surgery, you go spend time in a hospital, and he was almost 83, so it's not like,
Yeah, you don't heal up as quickly.
You just don't. You're susceptible. But anyway, so we talked, excuse me, and they put him on. He refused to go back to the hospital, and they put him on antibiotics and pee pills and oxygen, and he was just going to fight it at home. And so we were like, okay, that's okay. And that's about where we were at when we were going to record.
Yep.
But then I was just like, I don't know. I said, I'm not feeling up to it today.
Yeah.
Because I knew I'd be watching my phone all day.
Totally.
And,
And thinking about it all day long. Yeah, for sure.
well, over the next 24 to 48 hours, he just really deteriorated. And he couldn't even get out of his chair to go get his pills.
Yeah.
And he knew he couldn't make it to the bathroom, so he decided to stop eating and drinking. And they had the traveling nurse guy come and give him some morphine and lorazepam, just to, the hospice type thing.
Yeah.
Although where he's at, they don't have like hospice that comes in. And when my mom was on hospice, she lived with us, and they just would come by and relieve me. But it wasn't like anyone stayed there the whole time. So I wasn't expecting that anyway.
Right.
But they ended up with a volunteer, and I called his neighbor, and he had another friend that, so he was looked in on.
But he refused to go back to the hospital.
Yeah.
Did not want to go back to the hospital.
No.
Yeah.
He had a DNR in place when he went in for that surgery. So they resuscitated him when they shouldn't have.
Right.
But I'm glad that they did.
Right.
But we talked the day before he died. I called, we talked for probably 20 minutes or so. And
yeah.
so he ended up dying last Monday. And he wasn't scared. He wasn't alone. I felt really bad that I left him, as you can imagine. I should have stayed. But I do believe that these things fall into place the way they're supposed to. And I don't think my dad would have wanted me there when he died.
Right.
And he was in his home.
Yep. Where he wanted to be.
Where he really wanted to be.
Yeah.
And he wasn't alone. The volunteer, I guess, that had been with him the one day, she said she got up and she just couldn't sleep, so she went back over there, and so she ended up being there when he passed. So he wasn't alone. My dad, very disciplined, even in death. He knew he was dying. I think he just knew that his body wasn't gonna recover, and he didn't want to live in a broken body. He
well, and I think he probably wouldn't have wanted to go with you there.
I don't think so either.
I remember when my grandpa passed, and I was there, and I wanted to be there when he passed. He was going to die at any moment, but I just had to get home because I knew I had a long drive. I can't remember, it was super late. It was after midnight or 1 a.m, and I had to work the next. So I was like, I need to get home and get some sleep. He died like 20 minutes after that. I got home, and I literally got the call that he'd passed. And I was bummed because I wanted to be there when he passed. But I was like, you know what? I almost think he didn't want me there when he passed. Maybe he just, I don't know. But I think people just know.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think that there's, like, with my mom, I told her, that we all forgave her for the mistakes that she made.
Totally.
Because my dad had told me that the worst thing that ever happened to him in his life, and I thought for sure he was going to say it was when my brother died.
Oh.
Because I can't imagine anything worse than one of your kids dying.
Right, yeah.
But he said it was their divorce.
Really?
He said because it scattered the family.
Wow.
And he said that that he'd always envisioned, he'd always wanted the household where the kids came back and had dinner and stuff on weekends or whatever. And I never would have guessed that about my dad.
Interesting.
I never would have guessed that would have. And my brother went down after he passed and was, went through his pictures and stuff. He said that he has every card and letter that we ever sent him. And that's just so, not what I expected.
Yeah.
Found out my dad was an Army Reserve for 7 years. He was a specialist, and he just had all these things that we just didn't know.
So interesting.
Yeah, but he wasn't a braggart.
No.
He just didn't want to be like...
Well, if you don't ask, they don't tell you, but you don't know what to ask.
Right.
You don't think about
I never would have thought to ask, But anyway, so, I know. And you guys have been amazing with your well wishes, your prayers, your good thoughts. I've learned that a lot of you have just recently lost your you know, your dad or your mom or your spouse, and these losses they're tough to take.
Totally.
Even though we know they're coming.
Yeah.
You know, we know how this works. We're born, we die, and we don't know when those things happen. You know, you can't be totally surprised that an 83-year-old passed.
Right.
But it still just kind of knocks the wind out of you, because my dad was always so strong and so healthy, and you know, he was like the rock in my life as far as just you know, and and then you get to that point. My brother and I joke, he found this picture from an old family vacation where my mom and brother are standing on one side, and me and Gino are standing on the other, and then my dad obviously took the picture, and my brother says, "Survivors to the right," because we're the only ones. But anyway,
it's always too soon when you lose somebody, no matter what age they are, no matter what circumstance. It's always too soon.
Yeah,
I always wish you had.
Well, and it just, like, I still feel like it's not totally real.
Yeah.
You know, it just takes a while to sink in.
Totally.
And
because you didn't see him every day, but you always knew he was there. And you always called.
Yeah. In fact, he would have been calling today.
Yeah.
And he would have been saying, "Isn't it about time for you guys to put it out, another one of your videos?"
Yeah.
And he'd, you know, he'd watch him for a few minutes and then fall asleep, and that was fine. That's what I do when I watch him.
Or I fast forward.
Exactly. So
anyway, so what's happening as far as service? Like, what do you do?
His will says that he wanted to be cremated with no ceremony. Cremated without ceremony, it says. That's my dad. That's we're obviously we're having him cremated. So he was married to my mom. I think they were married like 25 years or whatever. Then they divorced, and then he was with another lady, Jean, for another 25 years. And she passed a few years back.
Oh, she did? Okay.
Yeah, Alzheimer's, and I don't know specifically what ended up getting her, but you know, she died. Well, then he was, you know, just living his life, and then he met a lady through a hiking club named Dorothy, and you know, she came up and visited a few times, and I really liked her. They had some issues, and apparently, you know, my dad was set in his ways, and I'm sure she was kind of set in her ways, and they ended up breaking it off a couple different times. They were going to go on the cruise with us, and they ended up not going, and anyway, so one of our thoughts was, well, could Dorothy possibly get you from the hospital? You know? But he didn't want to do that, and so, and then when after I got him from the hospital, it was clear to me at that point he still didn't want to involve her in any of this business. Well, my brother said that the notepad that was by his chair where he died, the only thing written on it was Dorothy. So I think that was his way of telling us that he wanted her to know. And so he called her, and then she called me last night, and we talked, and so I offered her some because she asked. They had talked about apparently where he would want his ashes spread. Just a minute, Nina. And so I said, well, I mean, I figured we'd do it on the coast. And she said, well, when you do it, you know, is there any way I could come? And I was like, well, I mean, I don't know, because I don't know when we're doing it. Or, I mean,
where
dealing with all of, I'm the executor, and dealing with all of this stuff out of state's kind of interesting. You know, like, we're gonna have to go down a couple times, got to deal with the house and and I don't know, if you don't mind, she might just, she's getting to that age where she's just letting it go.
Of course.
Anyone want a greyhound?
Are we that way? You just let it go?
Well, I mean, my husband can't just pawn me off on someone else. I mean, he could try, but anyway. Crap, if Leslie's not sitting next to me, I don't know what to say. I forget what I was saying. What was I talking about?
Spreading his ashes.
Spreading his ashes. Oh yeah, and so I don't even know when the body's going to be ready, but I know that once it's done, I have 15 days and I have to pick it up, or it's another $150 to have it sent to me. And
oh, wow.
I know it's crazy, but so anyway, so I told her that I would have some ashes for her. I asked her if she wanted that. I said, well, would you want some of your own ashes? Because I'm not into keeping ashes. That's not my thing. But I don't dismiss it for others.
Right,
you know?
Right.
I have some of my brother's ashes because his wife wanted me to have these ashes. And now I'm like, well, I can't throw them out. Although I have thrown out ashes. But I haven't thrown my brother out, and I won't.
You haven't thrown your brother out.
Remember I threw out my mom's husband? Yeah.
Could you put it in your garden or something? Like something that helps things to grow?
Oh yeah, I mean you can
Feeds
buy
the
these
earth.
things. It's crazy the things you can do. But anyway, no, I'd like them to go out in the ocean.
Yeah.
Like I did with my mom, but I learned with my mom, don't do it when the wind is blowing.
Oh gosh.
Because it blew back on me and that sucked. You know,
yeah.
I don't recommend that.
No.
Although it's funny now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she would like some ash. So we'll get some of those to her. But yeah, so we'll be going back down there sometime in the next few weeks. I don't know when.
Yeah.
I'm kind of stuck just waiting for death certificates because I can't take care of any business without that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I sent the mortuary the money to take care of that business, and so once they get that, if I used my credit card, you know, because I'm not there, I can't just stop by and pay it. It was going to be an additional $90 just because of the credit card fee, which I understand. There's no reason they should eat that, I guess, but they could write it off as an expense. I can't. So I just sent him a check and figured, what's a few more days? I mean, you know,
Yeah.
he's in their freezer, not mine.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah.
anyhow,
So you've got a lot of things coming up. I mean, I hate to say it was a good time of year that he passed. It's never a good
it
time.
was bad.
But I
roadways.
feel like going forward though, like hopefully the weather should be okay for
Getting
you to
better.
be traveling back and
Yes.
forth and having to sell his house and getting things in order. Summer's coming.
Yeah.
That, you know, at least it's not the beginning of winter.
Right,
You've got to travel a bunch of times down there.
Yeah, that would be a real pain. 'Cause it does that pass, those Siskiyous, and then the roads, if you were going down and cutting over to 101, and then at some point you cut over to 1 because he lived on Highway 1, tons of landslides because of all the, you know, it's been a heck of a weather system. So that's been a little bit challenging.
Definitely.
But we'll take care of the stuff and we'll sell his house. And, but anyway, so that's what happened. It was basically pneumonia. Got him in the end. So anyway, thank you very much for everyone that's been supportive, and
definitely.
It's just one of those milestones in life that you don't like.
No.
You can look at all the silver linings.
Yeah.
You can have all the comfort in your heart about things, but the bottom line is it sucks when someone that you love dies. You know, I mean, it sucks. You get through it, but you don't get through it if you don't go through it. And when my mom died, I was always trying to not cry about it. I was trying to my kids were young, and well, this time I'm just bawling.
Yeah, totally. Just let it out. Just let it out.
I'll just cry.
Yeah, totally.
Although not even that much. I was headed to the store yesterday all by myself, you know, and I felt it coming on, and I was like, oh no, don't do it. Don't do it. Because it's like you want to be able to choose the times that your emotions come out, and emotions don't work that way.
They don't.
It kind of sucks.
And it's not good to suppress them.
But
and it just bottles up.
Yeah.
I remember when my grandparents passed, I didn't realize how much it would affect me. I just remember seeing my grandpa in the hospital when he was dying. Like all of us, the family was around him, and I kept playing his favorite music. He loved the Gaithers, which I grew up with the Gaithers. Some of you may have too, but they were a quartet, gospel quartet, and my grandpa loved singing. He had this great bass, baritone, deep voice, and singing was a huge part of his life, and he always encouraged me to sing and my husband to sing in our church and stuff, and so that was just a connection we had. And so I just remember putting it on my phone because nobody was playing music. The room was just dead silent. I was like, my grandpa loved music, let's play the Gaithers for him. So I just brought it up on Pandora and put it right by his ear, even though he was unconscious on morphine and stuff, but you could tell at certain times, you could hear it because he would make little, signals and things. And I kept bawling the whole time. Like I couldn't stop. And I just felt like a blubbering fool because everybody else was being strong. His own daughters were being stronger. And here I was, his granddaughter, and couldn't keep it in. But,
well, sometimes if you're not the one that has to be strong, like right now, I'm totally in the mode of I got to deal with stuff.
Yeah, you have lots of work to do.
Yeah, and so then it's a lot easier to not lose emotion. But when it's later, when all the stuff dies down, and then you're like, wow, they're gone.
Totally.
He's not going to be calling me today, and I'm not going to be calling him, and he's never going to come up here again. And I don't need to start going on all that stuff. That's stupid.
I know. Well, it's not stupid, but
I mean, to sit here and like
I
say
know.
things that are obviously gonna.
we'll both be blubbering.
Yeah. Exactly. So anyway,
I know.
and to all of you, I mean, everyone suffered loss,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's just.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of you have been in the same shoes that I'm in right now, really recently. So
Yeah. It's just been a sucky year. So it's like, I don't know if it hurts more. Do you think it hurts more because it's been a sucky year? Do you think it's the same suck?
what I think sucks is that the last year of his life was lived under lockdown.
Totally.
And,
Yeah.
and that really
And that is
affected
why
him.
I will go visit people, and people will visit me no matter what.
Yeah.
Because it ain't worth not seeing people
No.
and having them pass, and you didn't see them. You know, it's not worth it.
No, his friend Gary, who drove me down to pick his car up at the doctor's, because he'd left his car was at the doctor's office for 3 weeks while he was in the hospital.
Okay. Yeah.
He didn't tell me this then. He told me this on the phone the other day because I called him to thank him for everything that he'd done. Because he stopped by and gave my dad the morphine a few times, and
Wow.
he said that my dad seemed really lonely. I was like, I would never use those words to describe my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad liked being alone.
Totally.
And it's like, I wasn't a bad daughter. I mean, we tried to get him to move up here so much.
Yes.
But he liked it down
Well,
there.
and you'd even mentioned it after he got home from the hospital. You were talking about moving
and he didn't
him
want to come up. He just wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
But my dad told me that, because I apologized to him for leaving him. I wished that I'd stayed and just But he said no. He said you getting me out of that hospital, that was like the Calvary showing up.
Yeah.
Because
nobody wants to die in a hospital.
No.
I mean, and you never know what he knew. He may have known this.
maybe
is it,
somewhere
you
deep
know?
inside. I think honestly, once he had that experience and got a glimpse of what's coming next,
Yeah.
his heart was a little bit less into staying here.
You're torn. You're more torn.
Yeah.
You don't want to be here on Earth where
Yeah.
there's horribleness going on. Yeah, I know.
And because he even said that as the last time that I talked to him was, he's like, I don't know what else to say, but I'm looking forward to going somewhere better. And it wasn't. I mean, it was like, he knew.
Yeah. He'd seen something
Yeah.
that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
He knew. Yeah.
I mean, I grew up. My mom. We used to go to church and stuff. Thanks.
Yeah.
But my dad never went with us. That was just not.
You
his
said your
thing.
dad wasn't a spiritual guy. Really.
I mean, but how do you define that? Because
Yeah.
our opinion is no. I mean, because he didn't go to church and he wouldn't. He didn't talk about God. And
Right.
but I think he knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or at least he wasn't unaware of. He just.
Well, I think his near-death experience confirmed what he probably wondered about or thought
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, I think it removed any doubt in his mind about anything. And
So maybe he wasn't as fearful of death,
Yeah,
He
I
had
asked
comfort.
him.
Yeah.
I said, "Are you scared?" Because I remember asking my mom that too,
Yeah.
and she wasn't scared of dying either.
I think it's the process of the dying, but it's the fact of dying. We all die, so it's like I'm not scared of death. I'm scared of the process leading up to the death. Am I going to suffer a lot? Am I going to...
And I am just so happy that he would not have done well in a prolonged. He was a very active person. He lived on the coast. He was always out.
And very healthy, you said.
Very
his whole
healthy,
life.
which is great. I mean, that is a blessing.
Huge blessing.
But then it's also like, wow, this person that we thought was pretty much indestructible.
Right.
And we knew, I mean, like I said, you can't be 83 and think someone, of
You're gonna
course.
live forever, yeah.
But his dad lived to be 92, so we kind of thought, and this is really funny, we just kind of thought, well, he'll probably live to in his 90s,
Yeah.
Well, and I could never talk about this on the podcast before because my dad did kind of watch, and I never knew how much he was seeing.
Yeah.
Well, we did a DNA test a few years ago. It was right before we moved up here, and found out that my dad's dad was not really his dad. I'm hardly Italian. I thought I was half Italian my whole
Your
life.
whole life.
Because
She was proud of that.
Yes, my dad believed that he's 100% Italian because his mom and dad both immigrated from Italy. Well, it turns out we're half Portuguese. Yeah. My dad's half Portuguese. I'm like 30-something% Portuguese, and then Jewish, and I have more. This is funny. I have more German in me than I do Italian.
Isn't that funny?
It's hilarious.
And so you never told your dad that?
Never told my
because-
dad.
Yeah.
You'd never get. I think my grandma was probably sexually assaulted because, my dad was born in 38. So it's not like, I mean, people have always fooled around, but,
Right.
My grandma was a Catholic Italian lady that, not to say that those people don't cheat too. I'm not trying to say anything except I suspect that she was probably assaulted. And in those days, you didn't talk about that stuff. And, excuse me. So anyway, so even knowing that we don't know who my dad's dad was. He could have died at 60. But still in our minds, we're thinking, well, Tony lived to be 90 something. So, you still just kind of have it in your head that that's how that's going to play out. And
have you ever thought about trying to find your dad's birth dad?
No.
Or knowing who he was?
Nah, I'm not good at that kind of stuff. I don't. Because to me,
is it because you don't care, or is it because you're like, too much work? Like, or what is it that makes you not like?
I think if someone presented the information to me, it might be interesting, but it's like, I am who I am. And the people that are important to me are important because of the role that they've played in my life, not because of any DNA.
Right. Yeah.
And so,
I'd just be curious to know the story. Like, was he a jerk? Was he a criminal? Was he like, I don't know. Like,
did Grandma really fall in love with a Portuguese man?
Yeah.
Who knows? Because I do know that from what my dad has told me, especially more recently, his parents did not get along. They were always fighting.
So it makes you just wonder.
Yeah.
Like, I would just wonder.
Maybe my dad was a love child.
Yeah. Or a one night stand.
Who knows? We don't know these things.
Know. Yeah.
But
it just definitely makes it very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going. I'm sorry. We can talk about this off air. I'm just curious, like, so your parents' divorce, was it your dad's choice? Was it your mom's choice? Was it mutual?
Gosh. No, this is what's sad. And I don't want to say anything bad about my mom, but so my mom and dad split like in March of 1980. By August of 1980, my mom and I had moved to Oregon because she hooked up with who became her second husband.
Which you didn't like at all.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
My dad had moved out. They were just separated.
Okay.
And I'm not bashing my mom. My mom could not stand the thought of being alone. And then this, this guy that he worked for the same company that she did, he comes in and starts whining and dining her, and I'm not making excuses for her. I'm not defending her, and I'm not crucifying her.
Right.
What happened happened.
Yeah.
But now as an adult, to look back and see that here this woman was just barely separated from her husband, and within a few months this family unit has been torn apart over 2 states with this new guy in the I never really realized how much of a tailspin that sent my dad into.
Totally.
But like, he moved out, they were separated, maybe they were going to try to be working on things.
Maybe he had hope that she
came
back around.
And damn, she's moved out of state with his daughter.
Wow.
And it was.
And did your mom take your brothers too, or did your brothers stay with your dad?
They stayed in California. Which, as a parent, how do you?
Yeah.
That's why she felt so much guilt for so many years, and that's why I think when she died and she knew that she was forgiven, no one, I mean, as a parent, you feel guilty about every choice you ever make.
Totally, you always question
whatever direction it goes, because you just, you take all that burden on yourself because you just want what's best for your kids. And I respect that. I totally get that. My mom, she made mistakes, but I know that she loved us.
Oh, completely. And, totally. Totally.
I think that I never gave my dad enough credit.
Yeah.
But I moved away from him when I was 12.
Yeah.
And
where you're just hitting that teenage age where you hate your parents anyway, and you think they're, not all kids do that.
No.
But I'm just saying, like, you're hitting that rocky age of teenage years, and So did you go down and visit your dad then? Like, did he have partial custody?
I went down a couple times, and they usually resulted in, like, when I went down, I was probably maybe 14. And so back when I was 14, this was like, early 80s. And there were like no real rules up in the sky. It was like the Wild West. You could smoke on airplanes, drink. Well, I got totally drunk by this man buying me drinks. which at the time didn't seem odd to me at all. You know, I was like, oh, cool.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here, you know, as an adult now, I'm thinking, what a lecherous piece of shit, you know, getting this teenager drunk on an airplane. And he almost had me talked into just staying on the plane with him and going on to, I think,
scary.
Yeah. But anyway, I got off the plane and I was just very intoxicated. And, you know, that my dad just pretended like he didn't notice.
Oh, gosh. And being ex-cop, of course he'd know.
Yeah, I don't think I was pulling anything off on anyone, but
Man.
and then other things. I went with my brother and we partied some more, and I was introduced to some illegal drugs too.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
obviously not what you would want your own child going through.
Right,
But
right.
we all survived.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad would come up and visit us far more often.
Okay.
Well, I mean, like once a year.
Okay.
So not like
Every
it's
3
it's
months.
not the relationship I would want for my kids or
Right.
me with my kids. But you know, everyone has that stuff.
Yeah.
And you make the best of what you can,
And you can't control what your parents choose to do. You
No.
just have to live through it. Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, I don't think I ever really gave it a whole lot of thought because I was just kind of reeling from, oh, I'm leaving my home and my state and I'm going up with this person I don't know and this is who I'm going to live with. And,
Yeah.
you know,
This new guy.
yeah, it was like I didn't really wrap my head around any of it for probably ever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean,
Did your mom ever regret divorcing your dad?
oh, yeah.
She did?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why she stuck it out with her second husband, even though they fought all the time. My mom attempted suicide,
Wow.
just all sorts of stuff but I don't think she wanted to give in to the divorce again because I
Yeah.
think that she felt like that was her biggest mistake. She didn't want to repeat it.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
yeah. Anyway, so sorry we've really gone on, but you know, probably a lot of people have stopped watching by now because, you know, this is not fun.
No, but it's life. I mean, that's how life is, you know.
Yeah, it is how life is.
Yeah.
And we all,
Everybody's going to experience it at some point. That's the
Right.
thing. I mean, it's like death is 100%
yeah.
going to happen to everybody. So, yeah.
And yeah, I just, you know,
Yeah.
when I try to really grasp what's going on, it feels a little overwhelming. Even though, like, if this was happening to someone else, I'd be thinking, your dad, I mean, he was in his 80s. He's going to die. This is not a mystery.
Expected.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
All of that's, like, in a totally different part of your brain than the actual event happening. I guess because there's a difference between knowledge and emotions. And that sounds really basic, but for me, who never really learned to identify many emotions, everything was very, you know,
black and white.
very black and white and compartmentalized and stuff. It's, you know, I'm learning now that, you know.
Yeah, it's better to deal with those and face them and let them out. And
Yeah,
breathe
exactly.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the peace you have is knowing where he's at. That's the peace you get, but it still doesn't heal the missing them. And
I'm very, I'm just, the way things ended couldn't have been better as far as like, I ended up feeling closer to my dad than I ever did in my life.
yes.
Because at the end, the guard was down.
Yeah.
From both of us, I
Totally,
think. I mean, I
totally.
was going to say that his guard was down, but you know what? It was both of us.
Yeah.
I had my guard up a lot too, because, you know, when he would come up and visit, I remember this as a teenager, he'd come up and visit and I'd be so happy to be spending time with him and stuff. And then he'd leave and I would feel this awful loss over and over again. And like, finally you get to the point where you're like, I'm not feeling that anymore. That hurts too much. I mean, this is all subconscious, but you know, and so then when he'd come up, I wouldn't be as happy. It would just be like, okay, you know, we'd have a nice time, but you know, I wouldn't let myself feel that pain again
Yes.
every time.
Yeah.
And then I guess part of it too is you grow up and you get on with your life and it's,
You get busy. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
But so I think I probably always had a bit of a guard up too, you know, just like it just was what it was. And
Well, it's protecting it. It's
Yeah.
protecting yourself and guarding yourself and being tough. And you were a lot like your dad, so you both did that.
yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah. But in
Yeah.
the end, it's like that stuff doesn't matter anymore.
Right. And that was gone. And I think that is why I felt so much closer to him. It just, you know, it was like, okay, here we are. You're my dad. I'm your daughter. And all this other stuff just doesn't,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And it's really amazing how many things, like, I knew I had a lot in common with my dad. Like, we had a lot of similar person, and we were both cops, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But there's got to be some genetics to some things. Like, he likes maps and stuff. He likes things with maps and stuff too, just like I do.
Yeah.
I didn't know that till I went down there this last time. It was like, he had this thing, and I was like, that is really cool. I love things with maps. And he's like, yeah, I do too.
And the ocean.
And we have this, whale thing.
Yeah.
And so it is just kind of funny the way some of these things are just...
Well, it's just generational. It's like, it's cool to see different traits. Like I said, with my grandpa with music, we both loved music, and it was just, it was cool to share that bond. And every time I hear the Gaithers, I think of my grandpa. Yeah. And it's funny because Bob does not like the Gaith. Like, that does not appeal to him. But I always grew up with Southern Baptist type quartets. My dad was in a quartet forever and traveled and sang and stuff. And so that kind of 4-part harmony, like, that just gets me every time. And so whenever I hear them, it just takes me back. Yeah. But for Bob, he's just like, oh. But Bob loves music, but he just doesn't get the whole
Well, we all have our genres.
Yeah, but for me, it's like, it makes me think of my grandpa.
Yeah.
And his whole family, his daughters, they would all sing, and they'd stand around and sing together and harmonize. And and it was just beautiful. And it's like,
I wish I could sing. I have got a crappy voice.
Well, and I don't have a great voice either, but he just always encouraged me. Are you singing, Leslie? Are you and Bob singing in churches? Are you guys? I was like, no, we're not right now.
Sometimes you did that, though, and it was nice.
No, we did. We got back into it, and we started doing it again because I felt like, you know what? I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm not good at it like I should, like I could be if I, dedicated more time to it, but I still, music just speaks to my soul like it does you. Like, music just gets me. It can take me back. Yeah.
Music is probably my biggest influence in life.
Totally.
As far as, I just love
music. Can make me cry. It can make me joyful. It can make me sad. It's just...
My brother said that when he was down there, the CD that my dad had in his boombox was Johnny Cash.
There you go. See, you guys shared that love of music. Yes. Totally.
And we love piano music, and so that's what I would put on, like, when we were driving back from San Francisco. I just put in on that Young Min Yu, the piano. Oh God, I love piano music.
He's amazing.
But if I'd known he liked Johnny Cash that much, I would have put on some Johnny Cash too.
Yes, because you guys definitely share that for sure.
Yeah,
and that's what ties you still together. I think that's the beauty of memories and the beauty of sharing like things, is that's what keeps you remembering them. And
well, that's another. I don't remember who said this or what, but. When my mom died, like, for some reason, and I probably didn't do this all at once. Again, this is probably just time. It's been 16, 17 years.
I can't believe that.
But I miss her like her. I mean, I still wish she was here. But I stopped talking to her in my head right from the start. Like, you know how... You can have someone's voice present in your mind, like, and you can, like, I know if I'm thinking about something that I would talk to you about, I can hear you in my head.
Right, what my answer would be. Yeah.
And with my mom, I would not allow myself to do that because this was just one of those things I went through when I thought, religion was like a bunch of rules. That's what it was about. Yeah. I thought that was me praying to my mom and that was a sin. Oh. And so I wouldn't. It's like I stopped thinking about her in a way, just because.
Shut that part down.
Yeah. And I really wish I hadn't. And I'm really going to try not to do that with my dad because I don't believe that that's a problem.
No,
I don't believe anymore that God thinks there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. But anyway.
Well, it's like that verse that talks about pray without ceasing, and it's funny because I used to always think, oh my gosh, I gotta be on my knees praying all the time. But I remember years ago telling my husband, I was like, I talk to God all the time in my head. Like, I'm always having conversations with God, like, and I was like, I think that's what it means to pray without ceasing, or to think about, you're thinking about somebody, you can hear their voice and what they would respond or how they would react to something. It's like, it's having that conversation.
Well, and this book that I'm reading / listening on Audible right now. And currently it's a movie that I would like to see, but I want to do the book first, by Jeff Shara. It's Gods and Generals, Civil War.
Yes, yes.
And at the very beginning, I don't remember what character it is, which historical figure it was, but he's talking about his mom having died, and that he's talking to this priest or pastor, and talking about how, he just doesn't talk to her. He doesn't conjure up her voice in his head anymore. And the guy was like, well, why not? Do you think that she's not with God right now talking about you?
Right.
Or, I mean, it was something like that. That's not a quote, but it made me think, why did I feel like I couldn't think about my mom anymore?
Yeah.
Or that I couldn't think of her voice of reason in my head, or, whatever it was. Why would I do that?
Well, I think a lot of times they say you look at God as and you relate it like your earthly father, the relationship you have with them. And I just remember always thinking my dad was always so strict and very, and he would pound his fist. He'd get angry about things, and he doesn't do that anymore, but he used to. And I used to think of God as like that way. Yeah. Like he is condemning me and this is wrong and what you're doing.
Oh no, it's just Leslie.
Oh, sorry. I'm not really angry, but I think it took me years to realize, no, God is merciful, he's gracious, he's loving. Yes, he is disciplinarian too, because he loves me, but he's not up there striking me down. Right. So I don't know if that is maybe because you looked at your dad as a certain way, and so that's what you looked at God as like more of authority, hide your feelings or bottle up your feelings.
Maybe. I don't know.
Be strong, I don't know.
Yeah, all about the rules.
Yeah.
My dad wasn't like that. I think that really came more from churches and stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Interesting.
Well, we have gone on quite a long time. We'll see how this all uploads.
Yeah, if it uploads.
I know, it might
be like, this is too long.
It's going to break YouTube. It's just not going to happen. But we'll see. I mean, I could always cut this part out and just put it separate, or
it's up to you.
I don't know.
It's your episode.
It's my episode.
It is.
No, I don't want it to be my episode.
No, but...
I just, just.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are always saying that you feel like we're your friends. Well, we feel that way too. So.
And whether you agree religiously or not, it's totally fine, because whatever you guys believe is, your own opinion and your own.
Yeah, I hope you know that. I think that I just feel so strongly that way that I don't even think twice about saying what I'm feeling, because I would never try to tell someone how they should
feel or experience things, or exactly.
So we're not trying to preach at you or anything like that. This is just, when you experience death or you experience loss like that, you're gonna.
I think you naturally go to those thoughts.
Yeah.
Is there life after death?
Yeah.
Is there God? What is?
And the losses that I've endured in my life, the people that I've been close to, have all, and I didn't even mean it to be this way. It's when I've always felt closest to God.
Yeah. You do.
I mean, I wouldn't say I gave up on God or stopped believing, because I think that somewhere in my head or heart, that was still there. But I did go a while where I was not interested in any of that. And it's really just been in the last year that, and I know a lot of people have prayed for me, and I would say that I know that because I felt it. Like it's almost like resistance is futile,
I remember Lori and I having conversations about it. We were like, we're just worried about Michelle, you know. Yeah.
But anyway.
Then you love your friends through everything, no matter what they're going through, and hope for the best, whatever that is,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, more people should try that.
Yeah.
Not in our group.
Right.
In the world.
Yeah, just true. Well, I remember Bob and I, we would argue in marriage and stuff, and somebody once told me, they said, you know what, just pray for him. Don't even bring up what you're offended by or what's ticking you off. And I was like, all right, I'm going to try that, because I'm somebody who just spews out what I'm thinking instead of thinking first. So I just started praying for him, and it was amazing how
it changed
God
your heart.
Just changed him and changed me. And I was like, those things either didn't matter or he just changed, and and I changed through that. So it was amazing to think I don't need to always say everything or be right.
And I don't know about you, but when I've been in that situation and I've chosen to pray over being mad about something or something, it's like you're doing it through gritted teeth.
Oh, totally,
You know?
totally. Yeah, because you don't want to pray.
I don't really want to be praying for this person, but
It's true. It's true.
I went through that a lot with my husband's ex-wife.
Yeah.
Because she caused a lot of trouble for us for a while.
Yeah.
And, oh my God, I felt so much hatred towards her.
Yeah.
And I finally had to just like, even though I didn't even mean it when I was praying it, you know, it was just like, and now we all get along fine.
Totally.
Everything's cool.
Totally, totally. And how much damage would have been done if you would have just
Right.
spoke what you were thinking
Yeah.
and the venom that you were feeling
Yeah.
in your heart just came out. It's like sometimes it's better just to close your mouth.
Yeah.
You know, not say it. So it's something I'm always learning.
Well, I know. So look at us though. You're in your 40s. I'm in my 50s. It's not like we're fast learners.
No. I'm totally always like, okay, bite your tongue. Don't say everything that comes to your mind. It's okay to not speak and just to listen. And, you know, yeah. So constant lesson for sure. For sure. Yeah.
All right, I'm
We're
going to
done
stop
preaching.
this now.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. we'll see what we'll discuss this off screen and see how much of this we want to leave on here and what we don't want to. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want to alienate anyone and think that we're weird now.
I think they already know we're weird. Now they're like, oh, I see why they're weird.
Yeah, like
Yes. This
deeper look
explains
into
a
their
lot.
weirdness. Exactly.
Into the minds of Michelle and Leslie.
Exactly.
Yeah. But
All right, go knit.
yep, go net.
We got a big mess to clean up here.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting hungry again, so
Oh.
we need to eat.
Yeah.
Because clearly I'm withering away to nothing.
Right. Well, and if we drink too much more, then we'll just be weeping and crying.
It might be time to just move on. So anyway, all right. Well, we'll see you guys. It won't be another month, hopefully. Although who knows? Because like I said,
Well, my
I don't-
daughter said we're supposed to get another huge ice storm in March. And I'm like, are you serious? Who have you heard that from? She was like, well, I heard it from Cole, her boyfriend. And I was like, Cole, who'd you hear that from? Like, where's this documentation that we're supposed to get?
No,
So I don't know if that's true or not. But I've clipped my roses, so it better not. We better not get another freeze. But I don't know.
I hope not. I definitely hope. I mean, just like I said, I don't want to be out of state and then not able to get home.
No, for sure. When you've got lots of stuff.
Not that it's all about me, but
No, but when you travel, it's like,
Yeah.
you don't want to be stuck somewhere. And, yeah, for sure.
anyway. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you guys on Instagram and your comments on here, and
Yeah.
keep knitting those balls. I'll knit some more balls, and don't forget our giveaway and our chicken lady giveaway.
You have 2 giveaways. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Thanks for sending beautiful stuff that we can give away.
Yes, absolutely. All right, you guys, if you're still with us, thank you. An extra thank you for sticking it out this long. Or you might be watching this part on a separate episode. I don't know, because it's definitely been long-winded. Yeah. You probably need to get home before dark.
Well, preferably. Preferably. Yeah.
All right, bye.
Bye, guys.